out this spring that the ship would be going out in the summer. We were very fortunate to work with Captain Perry and getting, for the first time, all the interpretive staff that work here at Mayflower II to be part of that crew in some capacity or another, which is sort of a great experience in itself, which gets them to grow with the mindset of, one, not only have you talked about it, but now you're actually doing it.
Our first day of training was on shore, and kind of everyone got together, and there were chairs put in the maritime shop, and kind of everyone went into sort of like their own little groups. We had the Mayflower interpreters, we had some folks from Jamestown, and people that did know each other from previous sails. As the training and as the week went on, we all got really close and had this great camaraderie, and everyone was telling jokes, getting to know each other and being able to trust each other as well, and having a really great experience. And there's people that I look forward to seeing again the next time we're underway.
The cool aspect of this preparation, this 2025 sail, getting prepared for the sail, was our Captain Witt being able to say, all right, Don, go bend that course up. All right, go bend on the topsail. All right, go do this, go do that. And then I'd go do it with my crewmates' help. And then come back at the end of the day and talk to the captain and say, this is what we did.
There's a lot of nomenclature or language or words that we don't use daily anymore that apply for when we're sailing. So some of our spring training was focusing in specifically on that sort of language so that they were confident and comfortable when somebody would ask.
Being put, not necessarily under pressure, but a little bit of pressure to get the ship fully rigged on my own without having my mentor from Mystic Seaport or from the 2020 sail, or having Witt standing right over my shoulder and saying, do this, do that, but rather it was me doing do this, do that, and then reporting back. And that was really a sense of growth for me. There's a lot of head scratching. How did we do this? I was looking at my phone, looking at pictures from 2020 as a reminder, like, oh yeah, this was this was that. And then once again, being able to see this in 2025, again, seeing how things move and being able to put that all together like a puzzle, it was a really pretty cool sense of growth for myself.
On sailing the ship was very important to continue our U.S. Coast Guard inspection status. For our COI, or Certificate of Inspection, we need to take the Coast Guard out for man overboard drills, fire drills, setting the sails, showing them we do know how to sail this ship safely when we have passengers on board.
You know, we can still sail this ship. It's still a fully functioning vessel. We spent several years back in 2016 through 2020 doing a full stem to stern restoration. And as an end result, we got basically a fully operational ship that's fully ticketed and serviceable.
So anytime we take Mayflower II out sailing, it gives us an incredible archaeological ideas on how these 17th century vessels would have performed in real life underway circumstances, which we cannot get from the dockside experience. And every time we sail the ship, we learn something new, a little trick that the sailors might have used to sail the ship better. It's also very important for ships to get underway, just in the fact that the old sailor saying that says, men and ships rot in port. We need to get underway. It keeps everything working, updates our knowledge. Sailing the ship was very important to continue our U.S. Coast Guard inspection status, to keep it protected, especially now that Mayflower II is listed on the National Register. It's very important for us to keep this ship ready for the next 60 years.
What's so strong, I think, about the living history experiences that we offer at the museum is it's not just talking about the past, and it's not just showing the past, it's doing it.
And it's fun to explain to people sort of how intimidating it looks, but then in the real reality, how simple the mechanics are and how it's orchestrated. Everything has to go accordingly. It's always paying attention. It's always being alert and conscious of the surrounding environment. You know, we're all in it together.
Mayflower is a wonderful symbol of the beginnings of, not the beginnings, because there's been stuff happening here for a long, long time, but sort of the start of what people think of as, the beginnings of America. And you have this incredible thing that happened, which at the time may have seemed kind of big to them, but has taken on huge importance, and that's the signing of the Mayflower Compact, this incredible document that has really, I heard someone say, and I think we've said it at the museum, and I think it's such a great way of putting it, it's the DNA for the Constitution. And it all goes back to, what we're talking about, revolutionary ideas started here. So these were the seeds that eventually led to the formation of this country.
As far as the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, this is incredibly important because, as we say here at Plymouth Patuxent Museums, revolutionary ideas started here. And for a lot of the tall ships, they all have their place in the beginnings, middle, and now 250 years of the building of America.
This was the height of technology 400 years ago. This was the space shuttle of the time period, shall we say, right? And people chose to leave everything they knew about their home, about their livelihood, everything that their ancestors knew. They're leaving that all behind to go to something that, frankly, would be like one of us going to the moon. And they're going to something that's completely unknown, and they have no idea what to expect. And they travel on a ship like this, they get to the wrong place, and they make it work anyway. And I think that's just absolutely astounding that they made it work, and here we still are, the same place 400 years later.
Mayflower is just a beautiful, dynamic symbol. It's not like looking at a document, like we were talking about how the ship seems like a living thing. It feels like a living symbol of that.
As we say in the tall ship community, you have ship, shipmates, and self as the three priorities when you're crewing. So we're developing character building that they can bring forward in all aspects of their life when they may not still be a crew on a tall ship. The character building and the confidence in oneself to do things that maybe you thought you couldn't do.
We had a lot of green hands on board. Once we were on deck for the first time, that was a great eye-opener for everyone. There was a lot of confusion. Where does this line go? What do we do? How do you belay this? What does it mean to haul on something? What does it mean to ease? And all these words we discussed in the marine shop, seeing that come together day by day by day, that by Thursday, everyone was really right on cue. We passed that Coast Guard inspection like we were a crew that had been sailing together for weeks.
I came into this as a historian, so the only sailing experience I had prior to Mayflower II was the Little Shallop. I'd been out on her twice, and it was probably for only 2 or so hours combined. So I came into it as a historian, not as a sailor, but the maritime crew that I've worked under has definitely helped me grow as a sailor now.
I was really impressed to see how my staff sort of went beyond their comfort zone and, were willing to, I think it was a growing up experience for them. It's not it's a fun thing, but it's a hard fun. And I think that was an encouraging thing, because I think you got to see people that normally will sit back and be bashful and shy, but this was their opportunity, and they did. They stepped up and stepped forward to, make it a success.
It sounds maybe overstated, but I think it's been transformational. Staff members that are wonderful. I saw on the sail do things that I never thought I would have seen them do before. They really put themselves out there into an uncomfortable position, and it really gave them a further personal connection, not only to the ship itself, but to the story.
When you're part of a crew on a ship, every single person has a job, and every single person is part of that crew. That's what makes the ship work. And
when I looked at the lines for the short time that I was sailing or on the ship, now I know what does what, and you can see how the ship is really a machine. Having been a part of the crew, now staff aren't just like, well, that line does this and that line does this. They're like, that line does that, and when you do this, this is what happens on the ship.
I'm used to Mayflower's design here in Pier, where she's not moving. So going out, it felt like learning the ship all over again, where I had to adjust to be able to predict when she was going to move, how she was going to sway. And for the rigging, I had no idea what was up there when I first started. So now, 4 years on since I've started, it's definitely a really good experience to be able to look up and say, I've been there, I've worked there.
We were able to have 10 of our historical on-site interpreters from the ship and the village come on the ship. A month or two ago, some of them couldn't spell boat and had never been underway on a sailing vessel. So the training that we did leading up to these sails at the dock and then the underway training, it was just amazing to me to see how well the crew was able to come together and learn the ropes, as they say. We had some older folks who had sailed the vessel before and some professional folks, and passing along those knowledge, skills, and abilities to the younger folks coming up, helping them to better interpret their history to the guests is amazing. And throughout the restoration, I was so thrilled to be passing along the knowledge, skills, and abilities of maintaining a ship like this, which are lost arts and skills that we need to continue to bring along the next generation, so that Mayflower II and the other tall ships in the tall ship community can continue their lessons in education on the hows and the whys of the boats, to educate the public on the boats themselves and their own individual stories.
The most challenging part of the sail for me was the last day, when I realized that I hadn't gotten aloft. I was scared to go aloft because I hadn't had a great experience here on the pier, so I was nervous. But working with Todd Igner, the mate that I was sailing under, he really helped foster my confidence in sailing. And then the last day, when I went to him and said that I wanted to go aloft, he just said, go for it.
Our staff members, and being terrified but proud, seeing our staff members go aloft and climb and like hang over, and just seeing the grins on their faces and the pride that they had in that. And I think it's very different in training, doing that when the ship is still, but when she's under sail, I think that's a whole other element.
so she went up and did it, you know, and now that's something that she's going to be able to tell the tale for the rest of her life. Her grandchildren, great-grandchildren will say, there was that day I was in Mayflower's rig and I helped furl a sail, helped set sail, and that's something that very few people have that experience. And I really appreciated that confidence and being able to overcome that fear. Climbing is not for everyone, and we've had a number of crew that were halfway up and said, nope, not for me. And I was really proud of her when she said, nope, I'm going to do this, and she went up and she did it, and it was great.
I was downright terrified the first time I went up. I was standing on the shrouds and you could see my legs shaking. I was moving the ratlins. But then when you're up there, you're so focused on your work, you have blinders on, you block the rest of it out. And then when you're done with your work, like the last day of the sail, finish my work, finish setting sail, I was waiting for one of my crewmates to leave the foot rope and get onto the shrouds, and I just had a moment of looking up. Her bow was in front of me. It was the horizon. There were no other smaller craft. They were all behind us. So just looking out and seeing a purely historical vessel in such a historic harbor and bay like Massachusetts Bay and Cape Cod Bay, it's definitely a pretty surreal experience.
The Mayflower story is so important to so many people because it's a family story. It's about people taking risk for their family to have a better life for their kids. And I see that every day with guests that come who are visiting from other countries or have immigrated and are just looking for a better life, a better opportunities for their kids. And it's just the resilience, the risk, and the reward that for some is really great to see.
Being on the Mayflower when she sailed, was just incredible for staff, because we talk all the time about what the voyage was like for the sailors and for the passengers that came over, but to be down in the between decks where the passengers were, and I closed my eyes and I just sat there, and I'd been a pilgrim before as my first job here at the museum, and I talked about the voyage all the time. So I was remembering what I said, and I was like, oh, I got some stuff wrong. The ship wasn't as loud as I thought it was going to be. It was pretty quiet, and maybe that's testament to the good care that we take of her, that she's not real creaky and everything. But just being in that area when she was under sail and using my historical imagination to think about the sounds of the people, the feeling of fear and excitement of going to a new place and starting to a new life was amazing. And I don't think I would have had that if I hadn't been in that area when she was under sail.
So since being on the sail, I know more about how the ship works, how it moves, how it feels, and it's been really great to share that experience with guests. A lot of people are just like, yeah, have you ever been up there? I'm like, I have, and not only while we've been here at the dock, but actually while we're underway. And being able to explain that experience and the difficulties of it and the excitement of doing all of this work, it was just really great. And we've had wonderful experiences with guests in that. I have guests come up and tell me, it's like, your staff has been so informative, and it's just been really great to hear about their experiences, which has been really fun to hear.
After her sail, when visitors were coming back aboard, I definitely noticed people's eyes light up when I had told them that I'd been sailing her. Because prior to that, I'd have to go, no one here working here today has been sailing her. And now I get to say, everyone here has been sailing her. So there's definitely a deeper level of connection between the guests.
I sometimes, I'm fairly nonchalant sometimes. I'm very, just kind of to myself, right? If I'm doing my work, and so I think for a lot of folks, they just see me like if I'm sweeping up something or I'm painting, like, oh, this is another painter or something like that. But then someone from the interpretive crew, or I might hear a question or something, and I might give an answer, and yeah, the moment that they find out that I either sailed it or that I'm the ship's bosun, and I've been up there and done some of the work up there, and next thing you know is I want to know more. It's like you feel like you're some kind of superhero in a way, and it's just like, no, I'm just the same person that's still painting,
So something that I love when guests take away from their visit on the ship is connecting to the people on the ship. That even though we're 405 years apart, that the people are still people, and that we have some of the same fears and same cares, and just seeing people have that connection and emotionally connect to the ship and the story is really amazing to see.
Mayflower II never ceases to amaze me how well it does handle. People that say and think that a square rig ship can only go downwind are mistaken. Now, we can't go upwind like an America's Cup boat, but Mayflower II is a very handy ship, as we say. One of the big things I learned, I had one of my old captains aboard for one of our training sails, and he was able to help me tack the boat in light winds better than I ever have been, so that I wouldn't end up in irons or back. I'll get a little technical here, but by bracing the mizzen yard over differently and easing out and bracing in the forecourse while we're going into tack mode helps get the ship through the eye of the wind better. And it was a little trick technique, again, as I talked about us learning every time we sail this ship. That was a big one for me that I'll be doing every time I tack the ship in the future. And thanks to my previous captain for that.
I think going back to Mayflower II's roots as a reproduction tall ship, because she's one of the first. She ushered in that golden age of reproduction tall ship building. So she has her own history, which is incredibly interesting. Because if you go back to her construction and how she was built without any plans from the original Mayflower, it's pretty impressive that she's here today.
And I don't think any of this would ever be possible if it wasn't for people with their donations and their gifts and their generosity, and or even like their well wishes and happy thoughts, to keep something like this still going. It's when you work on the boats, you get to learn the audible sounds. One loud blast is taking off, 3 shorts is reversed. And we're getting to see something that's sort of lost, especially in this day and age, where we don't often talk face to face with people anymore, but we're sort of behind a screen, or, you know, being out on the water and you have somebody that's never sailed and they have a question about what's this line do. You can, you know, put it in their hands. They get to touch it now. It's 3-dimensional. You know, it's not virtual reality, it's just reality.
I think it is kind of a funny way of thinking of perspective. Like when you're on the ship and when you come to visit her, she seemed pretty big. You've got the pier next to you and you're like, okay, 102 people, it seems a little small, but okay. And 20 some sailors, not comfortable, but I can see it. And then when you don't have the perspective of the land and you're out in the middle of the water, you're like, oh, the ship is really small. The ocean is very big and the ship is very, very small. So that really gave me more of an appreciation for just the incredible bravery and the kind of literal leap of faith that the colonists took in coming over here.
We were able to get our certificate of inspection recertified, and so now we're able to have some guests on board. We're able to get her underway next year. We're really looking forward to hopefully being able to take her out again and to be able to continue to share these experiences that we were discussing with other people, more people, new people. Maybe we end up with some new green hands next year that have to learn this all over again, because we'll teach them the same way, to learn the ropes, so to speak. And whether a guest on board or a crew member, everyone gets to see how the lines work, how everything does the job that it's supposed to do. To be able to look up and see the sails, to be able to live that experience and teach the next generation of sailors or guests that come aboard. What does it mean to haul on this line and to brace the yard? What does it mean? And to be able to maybe put this in guests' hands and show what it means to move the yard. And that even guests can still walk away from the ship here at the dock and say, yeah, I had rope in my hand, I had a line in my hand, and be able to say the difference. What is a line versus a rope? What does it mean? And to come away with a piece of history that you can't otherwise get in a book.